how have you survived? She goes, the first year was tough. And she said, and then I learnt to project an aura. And she goes, I get zero hassle. And if you ever get on a train in India, if you're an attractive woman, I mean, you're going to love guys.
Everyone starts to lean in.
Oh, yeah, they lean right in on your energy field. And so I get that we actually can project our energy out, and that energy must meet the other person's energy, and the transaction's taking place over there in an energetic field rather than in a personal space.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it Renate? Renate. I was going to say, because I've heard Renate, but because it's not spelt the same as Renee.
Yeah, Renate.
Renate de Koker.
Right, the same. Yeah.
So you were born in Holland.
Yes.
And then travelled the world as a flight attendant.
Yeah.
And then about 20 years ago, you settled in Byron Bay?
Yeah, I'd lived elsewhere and others, so I didn't fly all that time.
Okay.
I lived in San Francisco, England.
You did? Okay.
Austria.
All right. I've lived in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And then, but Byron's been your home for how long?
A little over 20 years.
And then you chose Byron because when you came here, you felt a strong energy.
Yeah, I was living in Sydney beforehand, trying to become a permanent resident. And when that happened, I had visited this area, feeling this energy and this strong notion of my life's going to change as soon as I know I can stay here.
Okay.
Legally stay here. So, I focused a lot on that. And when I then finally could stay here, I went to Byron. Yeah, what I noticed in my trips here, but particularly when I arrived here, it's like, especially coming from Europe, this kind of tight shoe I was wearing, and then the bare feet experience, literally, but also in that energetic feeling, the strong hold of my conditioning, I guess. I could kind of breathe more, and I was on a mission to stay here in Australia. So it was like when I was in Sydney for 2 years, it was very short nights and lots of studying and working to make it happen. And so, when I came here, it was just like, wow, it felt like I could exhale and inhale freely, and there was a welcoming and the connection to, there's an amazing beauty here, obviously.
Yeah.
Beauty of abundance. So that's what I really felt like. Yeah.
It's known, Byron, this region is known for its strong energy. Some people say spiritual energy.
Yeah.
It may be geology, because I believe there's a lot of obsidian and amethyst crystal under the ground here. It's also like a huge caldera. I think it's one of the second biggest caldera in the world, this region, like a volcanic thing, and I think the biggest one's in Yellowstone. So I think maybe for that reason and other reasons, I've heard that most people say they feel a strong energy when they come here. Yeah. I'm from Perth in Western Australia, and I've been coming here for years. I remember when I was about 25, I think I came for the first time. I said, I'm going to live there one day.
Yeah.
And then I moved here, I think, in 2012. Yeah. So I made it. And then when I first got here, people said, oh, don't worry, it'll push you out within 2 years. Like most people come here for the strong energy, but then the strong energy pushes them out.
Yeah.
And I've kind of felt that a few times. Like it's like, I'm welcome here and I'm not welcome here. It's if you're into these subtler energies, and I am quite open in that way, so I feel energies quite strongly. And I did get pushed out once for about 12 months, and then I came back again. But this is home, and I love this place. And so, what were you studying in Sydney?
Well, I can stay in Australia because there was a shortage of chefs, believe it or not. So I did hospitality management and chefing.
Okay.
And my background is in hospitality, so it was fairly easy to study it, but just a lot also to work and to afford, get the money to afford to do it all. Yeah. So, it was an accomplishment for myself, just because I had that same feeling of, I had been in Australia before as a ski instructor.
Oh, yeah.
And I did that seasonally, going back and forth from Europe to here. And then I was like, wow, it's so different, Australia to Europe, where I'm from. So I had that same feeling what you said about Perth and Byron, like one day I'll live in Byron. I had a feeling one day I'll live in Australia because, wow, And then it became even stronger when I went to Byron Bay. I was like, well, this is where I one day will end up. Yeah.
Yeah, so we both had a similar experience.
Yeah.
We felt called here and we both ended up here. You know, the thing you talk about, you know, like the tight fitting shoe that you felt living in Europe, and then it's like here's a barefoot experience. I know even if I go to Brisbane or the Gold Coast and I feel the, you know, the frantic energy and pace of the city, of big city, as I'm driving back down the M1, there's a certain tunnel you go through and you come out, it's like a portal. You come out the outside and you see Mount Warning, Wollumben on the right-hand side and the cane fields. And it's like literally a gateway there.
Yeah.
And then I like exhale. I'm like, I'm home again.
Yeah.
And, and so you were a ski instructor as well.
Yeah.
Do you know Chip Richards?
Chippy?
Chip Richards. He's my neighbour, and he coached the Australian Olympic ski team. He's from Colorado. He's done a couple.
I skied in Colorado as well.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I've skied in Colorado and Durango, and we met interestingly on a boat. Yeah, a beautiful boat. Yeah, beautiful big catamaran with the two Simons, and we sailed up to Kagari or Fraser Island, Harvey Bay, for the whales, for the humpback whales, which is without doubt my single most enjoyable experience. I've been up there, I think, 7 times now in the whale season on one boat or another. Yeah. And it's just magic. Like, that's my happy place. Yeah. One thing I like about being on a boat is you've got everything there. Like, you have to bring everything with you.
Yeah. You're kind of cut off from the rest, right? So it's
you cut off, but yet you've got everything you need. Yeah. And you're floating on an ocean. And normally I just drive up and jump on someone's boat, but this time we sailed up. Yeah. And that was another part of the experience. I'd not really sailed much before. And I remember 2 a.m. I got the 2 a.m. watch. And
we were on it together,
weren't we? Yeah. And just sitting there and, you know, seeing the lights of Brisbane off in the distance, but knowing that, you know, there's probably a kilometre of water underneath you. You're on this floating thing. And, you know, part of the adventure is like that it's a bit risky sailing in a boat at night. And but that just keeps you alert and awake.
Well, and the darkness as well. You look, you know, we were shown what do we actually look for in the dark on this screen.
Yes.
But that notion of also a surrender in a way.
You're flying, you're sailing by instruments because you can't see much. Yeah. But even that's got a very freeing experience, and just the quiet of a sailboat because there's no motor. Yeah. It's just the wind and the silence and the stillness and the rocking of the boat. I just love that. It's my ultimate experience of freedom. I just feel free. Yeah. And when I met my partner, Beck, I said, she goes, what's your plans for the future? I says, I want to buy a big catamaran and live on it. Yeah. She goes, oh, boy.
Here we go.
I still don't have one, but maybe I'll get there. Yeah. That'll be my retirement plan now. And had that been the first time you'd sailed with whales?
Yeah, first time like that. And it was interesting experience for me. You know, there is that experience of seeing the whales, being with people, the sheer beauty of where you are, and that feeling of the outside life stops somehow because you're here. This is your island, and we can actually park everything for a while until we come back. We don't have to really look at anything that has to do with the outside world. So that was interesting. What I found is in the morning for years already, I go to the beach for the sunrise. So I'm very connected to the earth and connected to all the elements, the water and everything. But the water, normally to me, I touch it, I go there. And now I was on it. As a matter of fact, there was no land. And so for me, I realized there was a ungroundedness initially. It's like, wow, I've never really been off land for this long. You know, flying for a day. Oh, yes. Right. But not like for days, not on land. So, yeah, I just had to envision myself because I went to this massive purge as well. There was a lot happening for me at the time. And I had to just envision myself being connected all the way through the water to the earth. And that actually then calmed me and settled me, earthed me. But it was an interesting experience on that level for me. And there were some just magical moments of seeing the whales. And also I had this feeling of wanting to sit low near the water. At the back you could kind of jump in. Yes. And most of the time I would sit literally touching the water. And when I did that, when the whales were around, they also came to check us out quite
Yeah.
close. And yeah, that connection with the elements for me so strong. So it was a magnificent trip for that.
Yes. Yes, if he's going again this year, I might see if I can get on the boat for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one year I was up there with a friend, and it was an amazing morning. There was a lot of mist,
Oh yeah.
like marine mist layer. So you wake up and you can't really see more than about 20, 30 metres or maybe 50 metres. And the sun was rising, but you couldn't see even the island that was only a few hundred yards away. You couldn't see it because this mist was so thick.
Yeah.
But because the sun was coming, it was gold. It was like a golden mist. I'm like, wow, this is a really odd thing. And then all of a sudden, and it was like calm, like absolutely still, and the water was like, glass, like a mirror. All of a sudden, this big school of bait fish start jumping out of the water. Oh, wow! And the noise it made, because it was a huge bait ball, and then all of a sudden, these big tuna macks, like tuna mackerel. They're about a metre long, start jumping. They're the things that are chasing the bait fish, Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm on a documentary, Nat Geo documentary. And then you see a couple of dolphins coming around, and they're kind of, I think, going after the tuna macks. And then I see this shark fin
Oh my God.
come by.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? And then you hear this, humpback whales coming.
Yeah, it's so...
And then we look up, and there's a couple of eagles,
Actually.
sea eagles, and we were just sitting there going, what? So we got in our little inflatable dinghy and rowed out amongst the bait ball, and I've never been in so much wildlife. It was all marine life, and just in the middle of it, and I felt like part of it. It's just so much magic can happen when you unplug from the Matrix style living. What I call this.
Yeah.
Unplug from technology and just go be with the elements and be with nature. Yeah. And for me, it's a total decompression. I get to decompress. Like you say, you could be on another planet. You're so far from
I think we witnessed that in each other as well, the people we were with. I certainly witnessed it in you. After a while, almost like everyone started to even in appearance change.
Right, you drop everything.
Falls off or whatever's going on in life. Yeah.
And I think I spent a couple of days just with Simon, because I think you and then the other crew went back early.
Yeah.
I stayed a few extra days, and it was just him and I, and it even got quieter.
Yeah.
And he's a reasonably quiet guy. And I cranked up the music and I'm dancing off the back and the sun's setting and I'm just like, I'm so happy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that expansion, right? That feeling that you can't quite express how joyous and
it wouldn't be the same without the whales. Like the whales just make the trip. And
it's the sound of, remember that we had a little tea ceremony and it was that time of the sun went down and we finished the tea ceremony with a last kind of inner wish for ourselves and each other, and the last person was finished and we hear this
right.
Oh my God. It enhances everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When animals in general, I think, respond. I mean, as I'm listening to you describing how amazing that trip is, I have to say that every morning I show up
for the ocean.
For the sunrise, and it came because of a health episode I went through, and I started to I don't know what else to do than just stand there for the sunrise and go through my emotions and also gratitude that I am alive.
Yeah, and
when you do that, it doesn't even matter how long, but with that awe of, wow, here I am being not only witnessing the sun is witnessing me, or oh, there's the wind. Just briefly acknowledge that. And you stretch that moment. Every day it becomes, you look forward to it, and it becomes a part of your day, because in that moment you feel it, but then throughout the day I tap into it as I feel the wind, as I hear the birds. And I find sometimes with things like, let's say, an amazing trip to the Harvey Bay, but also retreats, or, you go away temporarily, cut yourself away from your life, has an amazing purpose and healing. But I feel myself that then you come back and then you have to find a park to go to RGA and, all the things. And that feeling is almost kind of, you can't connect with it because it's never had anything to do with your day-to-day life. And I feel myself, I started to notice as I got myself up at 4 a.m. and stand there at 5, and that is my day-to-day life, and I can tap into it the whole day.
Yeah.
Because I haven't removed myself in any way. It's become my day. It's become my life.
It's a ritual. It's a daily ritual that you do every morning.
Yeah.
And apparently Andrew Huberman talks about this, and a lot of people do, about the best thing for you in the morning is early sunlight.
Yeah, and I didn't know until my journey is often like I feel called to do something. I'm standing there the first 20 minutes, your whole body gets reset. I learned that later. Completely.
Right.
People heal themselves from cancer and all sorts of things.
Wow.
And I was showing up in gratitude and witnessing the sun, and then try to inhale it, and then acknowledge the water and the wind and all the elements, and it started to elaborate. But yeah, it's hugely health beneficial, and the good thing is it doesn't cost any money. So many people find you and me or others to help them assist them in a part of their journey. But how good would it be if you could get up 15 minutes earlier and just connect with Mother Earth in that way? Because everything there will start to heal you. You start to recalibrate. Most people, not so much here, but most other people in other areas, they get their Ugg boots on in winter, their shoes on outside. They never touch the earth. They touch the earth very rarely.
Yeah.
Because then we go to work and stuff. So the earthing, the connection with Mother Earth is not there, and therefore there's a dis-ease in the body. It's yearning for that connection to the earth.
So you're saying our disconnection from our Mother Earth, which is really our ultimate mother, because she's the mother of all mothers, by that non-attachment or that broken attachment, that is a source of disconnection and dis-ease, and so that through connecting back to that energy of the earth, you can help heal yourself.
Yeah.
Is that electromagnetic? The reason I asked that, because going back to the whales one step.
Yeah.
Apparently a humpback whale's heart's about the size of a washing machine or something like that, quite large. And I remember I jumped in the water once. You're not supposed to. In Tonga you can, but in Australia you're not supposed to. But I did jump in the water and swam down and got within a couple of metres of a big humpback. And it was a very special moment. And I felt my heart go boom.
Expand.
And because we have an electromagnetic field around us, and apparently the electromagnetic field from their heart is quite big, and so I think I felt that. I felt something, and somebody explained to me, it's probably electromagnetic thing. And
well, the energy fields of people, animals, trees, plants, everything will affect the surroundings. So I guess, yes, there's that. But Mother Earth, like we're born on the earth, and we're not born on the moon. So it's kind of like, we have been taken away so much from thinking Mother Earth is a thing. And I didn't realize until I went through this health episode, and I was like, Mother Earth, if you're there, if you're actually there, I need your help. I need to get rid of fear. And when that then happened, but I called out to the entirety of creation without realizing it, but in my despair, and I woke up the next day and the fear was gone. Will I be fine? Yes, whatever that looks like, you'll be fine. I'm like, wow, I need to show up every day for respecting Mother Earth. Yeah, the recalibration that starts to happen.
Was your health scare life-threatening or potentially life-threatening?
Potentially life-threatening.
Yeah,
so it was early stages of something, but it shocked me, and I separated myself out of myself, that full-on disempowerment. And I felt it.
You felt like a fear response.
Yeah, enormous fear response of what's this. And I left my body. It felt like I was standing next to myself. Wow. So as everyone else was saying, you're going to be fine, I couldn't say this about this situation. I was like, I can't feel it. And that terrified me. And then it was with me all the time. And this fear, and I realized I can't make any decisions even if I'm controlled by fear.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, obviously, the whole story started to unfold over the last 5 years. It kind of coincided with that. It's like, wow, this whole fear story, I know how important it is to be out of fear, out of anxiety. Yeah. Because then there's actually an enormous resourcefulness in our bodies, in our being that we can tap into, but not when we are stressed, tired, anxiety, fear.
Yeah, fear's a killer. I'm writing a blog about that at the moment, like really understanding neurologically, endocrinologically what's going on in the body with hormones and cortisol and adrenaline and noradrenaline and just the effect that fear does have on the body, and it shuts down our prefrontal cortex so we can't think straight.
Yeah.
It shuts down our language center in the back of our brain so we can't find the words and speak, and so we go into like a fight or flight response, and a little bit of that's okay and is adaptive and protective, but if you're in that state a lot, it takes a big toll on the body. Yeah. And so you went and connected. So how long were you in a state of fear before you were able to connect with the energy of the earth and that fear fell away?
Yeah, I would say about 2 months.
Okay.
Because I navigated the fear. I was thinking, what is this fear? And realized what the fear was. It wasn't the fear of dying, but the fear of having no say over my body.
Oh.
Which is probably ancestral, or I feel I've lived before, maybe in my ancestry. So there's this, you look back in history where, if we displayed any clarity like I do now, or you do that now as well, in the past that didn't fit. So people were locked up, removed from society, let's say, and that's what I felt was rising, like the burning of the people on the burn piles, the witches.
The burning of the witches for having,
Yeah, but it is
believing in
feeling
energy.
like energy, like you would be on that burn pile, because if you say, I can feel the energy of Mother Earth, no, we need to not feel that, because we need to be of service to whatever, how we're going to consume and be controlled in a way, not thinking for ourselves. So a lot of us would have that, a lot of us in this time would have that in their lineage, let's say, to either not do anything with, so to live it out, or to get rid of that fear, to really dismantle it.
Yeah.
So in that I was like, okay, that's the fear of being locked up, or me as a grandmother, or my grandmother's fathers have been locked up against their will because they displayed clarity.
Your
ancestors,
in this lifetime, like your grandparents or great-grandparents were locked
Well,
up.
it's not my immediate great-grandparents, but the fear that was rising had nothing to do with dying. I was like, what is this fear? It's not dying. It's
I'm not in control.
I'm not.
In my body.
I'm being held against my. Somehow I'm being capped.
Okay.
Put away.
Right.
Removed for what I can.
And you anticipate that may have happened to your ancestors. You felt it.
I could feel it.
Okay.
I could feel it, because then I start to realize, when I watch a movie, you can watch different genre movies, but when it was about somebody locked up, I got this. I start to realize I always had this kind of weird bodily response to. Very terrifying, and other people look at that going, oh no, there's nothing there for me. So
ancestral
I felt,
trauma.
It was ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
And so I navigated it a little bit. I went into the system just to rewrite that story, and later on I realized it's probably kind of what you do in hypnosis, but I did it in real life. I rewrote that story, so I went in with a friend and took time to go in, and took the calmest friend with me, so that when I went in for like one kind of examination, let's say, when I came out, she was there, and she was, we walked out again. And so I was rewriting my own story and it was only later that I realized, oh wow, this is probably what you do with hypnosis or techniques like that.
It's what I do with shadow work coaching. I get people to rewrite their story.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you've got a negative story, and we've all got a bunch of negative stories, whether we know it or not. Yeah. And if they're unconscious, they're running a lot of your life. And so, I'm very much into that, auditing what are my hidden beliefs. Yeah. Wow.
So it's interesting because I was pushed, because I thought, I don't know what else to do. This is there. And if I go, let's just forget about it.
No, you can't. You have to confront it.
It was the opportunity. And also because I realized when my answer to myself came, when I could connect with myself and there was no fear, will I be fine? Yes, whatever that looks like. I felt there's now a responsibility I want to take. So I want to take any opportunity that arises from this, because it didn't mean that all of a sudden everything was healed. I'm going to take it as an opportunity to do something different, because obviously something has led me here. An ignorance to certain things that I may need to look at, habitual ways of behaving that don't suit me, anything. So everything that came my way, I felt like I'm going to see if I can behave differently in this so that it
Yes.
eventually falls away. And that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was in everything.
And when you confronted the fear, you were more afraid of being locked up than dying.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was, this is all in the, it's been interesting just to see how it overlapped these last 5 years. And so I didn't express that to anyone except for the friend that came with me to hospital. I said, I'm rewriting a story here. Anyway, then I eventually ended up with specialists, and they were talking with pictures and drawing, and this is what we need to do. And so I sat there, and they were like, wow, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. It wasn't that I was completely calm, but I had my friend there as well, just to hold the energy. Because normally people would go, oh, wow, okay, so when can I book in? And give the power to, be grateful for that person, especially. And I didn't do that. So it was just like, are you okay? I said, yeah, typically I'll just have a think about it. It wasn't typically what I did, but again, I was just doing something different. So I went home and I'm like, no. And so I didn't follow up, and I got the reminders, and I stayed nice to the assistant that reminded me, you've come, and now this treatment is free. I started to see all the unfoldings in that realm of initially fork out a lot of money for all these things, and then, you can now come for free. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I got to see from my own experience,
how it plays out.
How that plays out. And sometimes I feel that's why I end up in those situations and operate that way. So instead of brushing it off and fuck you, you don't call me again, I just go with a polite way. Thank you for doing their job. And got to see really what they want is get you in so that...
Can I just clarify something? So in the beginning you were being offered treatments.
I was doing treatments and you pay money for it.
Yeah, okay.
Or treatments. They try to determine what's going on with you. And
yes.
Then, there's something there. We need to do this now. And then something there. And at some point it was like, okay, that suggestion now.
Yeah. And there was costs involved with that. And
costs involved, yeah.
And then, but you were not going along with those treatments?
Well, initially
You did?
I did, because I need to rewrite my fear in this. I needed to rewrite my story. But then they suggested, oh, no, you need to do that. And I said...
And then they offered it to you for free?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really interesting to witness because I stayed calm in it, not judging it either.
Okay.
Yeah. So it came my way, and then eventually landed with my GP again, because you have a due diligence, I guess, to follow up. Half a year you came with this to us, and we've heard from the specialist that you are not coming back, which is fine. So I got a typed letter. My biggest fear is in black and white. That's totally fine that we respect that you have, wishes over your own body. But just let us know either way so we can stop hassling you about it. So I end up with this non-generic letter. Somebody typed this weird, and I could see, my biggest fear was black and white there. Basically what I was afraid of, I had no say over my body. I got back from the GP, you have say over your own body. It was just mind-blowing.
Wow.
And I had never really told anyone.
Wow.
Except for the friend that came with me.
So when you took agency back over your own body, it cancelled out the root fear, which was to not have say over my body. Wow. Jeez, I didn't see that coming. Yeah. I remember not that long ago, COVID. Pretty recent for most of us. And they were talking at one point, I mean, there was a lot of coercive control in terms of taking the suggested treatment. And then I remember, I think it was Germany or Austria, somebody was actually talking about forced treatment.
Yeah.
Which meant, a police officer coming with a nurse to forcibly give you their treatment. Yeah. And when I heard that, I'm like, over my dead body. Yeah, I'd rather die fighting that than die of COVID or potentially their treatment. And it was very clear to me. It was like a line in the sand moment. Like I really got who I was as a human being. Is agency over my body is where the buck stops. Yeah. And no, you can't come here and forcibly jab me with anything, and I'll go down fighting. Like I really had that as a clear vision. Yeah.
So it's in that same time that I went through that. So it was quite amazing to see it turn out in my own life. And
I wonder why for some people agency over their own body or bodily autonomy is so important.
Well, I think that's
and maybe for some people it isn't that important.
Yeah, but I think we are transmuting, that's how I see it, I'm transmuting a energy, trauma comes through my lineage.
Right.
And a lot of people here would have that because, to transmute it, you learn a lot from that process, and it spins you in knowing yourself on a deeper level, being sovereign.
Yeah.
I don't need governing because I know myself so well that I can know this feels good and in alignment, not only with me, but with the greater good of all. And this doesn't. And because we don't connect with that deeply, there's a lot of governing happening.
Right. When we give away our power and our autonomy, particularly to an institution or a government, that's us doing that.
Yeah.
We're relinquishing our power and our control. And then when we do that, they do become our masters and we become the servants to the government. This is one of my, I think about this quite often.
Yeah.
They're our servants. We create government to serve us. But, once they start getting power or we give them power, it kind of flips pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And we saw that during COVID, all the government overreach, all the things they told us we could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, you're our paid servant, not our master. And so they are.
Yep.
Man created government, so man's above government. But if we give them too much power, we flip the script on that, and then they start calling the shots. Like autonomy and agency over my being is like that. That's very high value, maybe my highest value. And I don't know, I never saw the connection before, but my grandfather, my Italian grandfather, came to Australia, I don't know, 1930, somewhere like that. But then during World War II, he was put into a internment camp because he was Italian, and I think the Italians were on the side of the Germans.
Where was he? In Australia?
In Australia.
Put into
3 years. 3 years in an internment camp. I had no idea that Italians were locked up in internment camps during World War II in Australia, but they were.
I've never heard of that.
No, it was a thing. Yeah, so my grandfather, so he didn't have bodily autonomy. He was locked up against his will. Yeah. I don't know what those internment camps were like. I have no idea. I haven't looked into it. I might research that actually. But I wonder, so it's that ancestral...
Comes through, yeah. Yeah, and it needs to be somehow resolved in a way because your grandfather couldn't. It was happening to him.
Yes.
And then I guess, in the time, maybe also for men, just difficult to afterwards process that. How would that process be after? I don't know what happened after that for him, but very different time now.
Yes.
It's very much a time of doing the trauma work, doing the shadow work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
So that's why it comes to us in the end because no one else before us, there was no no space, no thing.
No, back then
it was building up from the war. So I know from my father, building up, he was born in the war. So that trauma is in me. And then they were just busy. His parents were busy with building up from the war. So, you're in that kind of hype, let's say. And then you don't look at these traumas at all.
Yeah, we're also impacted by trauma in different ways. And, like World War II was a huge global trauma. Yeah. And it was a time of great scarcity and, people had to get by and they didn't have the luxuries of going and seeing a counsellor to deal with the trauma. There probably wasn't even a thing. Yeah. And so we're in a different era now. We're in an era of we're all attempting to heal from our traumas. I mean, I'm a trauma therapist. That's one of the things I do. And certainly spent most of my life healing some of my ancestral trauma. So it's definitely a thing so that when, I've got a 9-month-old, you've just met my little Audrey, my daughter. Yeah. And, I'm quite clear that I want to, if I do the best I can to, stop the trauma being passed down. Yeah, it's important to me. We need to do that work. Yeah, wow. So you went through, that must have been quite a journey to have that diagnosis and then be offered treatments and to notice your biggest fear was to not be in control, and then the moment you took agency back, the fear fell away. Yeah. And from that you learned, what did you learn from that got you, had you already been interested in the earth and energies and connecting and grounding?
Just how you just mentioned that, so the fear really fell away, and that's when I was in despair of I can't think for myself, and I called out to Mother Earth, if you're there, the Creator, if you're there, the plants.
Right.
Overnight, I was like, I need to please help me get rid of this fear. And when the next morning the fear was gone and I went, will I be fine? Yes, whatever that looks like. I then realized now I need to step forward, dismantling this kind of trauma that's coming through the lineage. So the earth connection really came because I was surprised myself. I knew Mother Earth. I was always kind of conscious of the earth, you know, like most people, tried to make a small footprint on the earth as much as I could. But I was literally in the space of Mother Earth if you are actually in energy. I wasn't connected like I was then. Now, please help me get rid of my fear.
So you called out. It's interesting when we're sick or hurt, we go to our mother, don't we? I mean, when I was about 57, this was when I went back to Perth for a year. I had a bit of a scare myself. 3 people in my immediate surroundings who I knew of, I didn't know them that well. One was dating a friend of mine, and another one was a brother of another friend, and there was a third guy. All died within about a 3-year period of cancer, but lymphoma. 3 men died of lymphoma. And this was prior to COVID. It was about maybe 2017, something like that. And I noticed these 2 lumps on the back of my neck. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And then I thought, oh, it's nothing. And then I also started having night sweats, like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and the bed would be saturated. And then I was also just generally feeling unwell. I noticed I was a bit depressed and my energy was low and I just didn't feel right. And so I went and saw the doctor. I said, oh, look, and I known about these 3 guys that had lymphoma. And lymphoma is cancer of the lymph nodes. And you got lymph nodes, behind your ear, in your neck. So, I've got lymphoma. And the moment I told myself that, it just put a shudder through my system. I'm like, I'm going to check out early. And so I went and saw the doctor. He says, well, we need to do some blood work and you need to get a biopsy. I'm like, okay, well, I want to know one way or the other. So I got the blood work done. He says, you've got a low white blood cell count, which is, you can get that with cancer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what does that mean? I'm a nurse. I know what it means. But when you're freaking out, I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, well, the biopsy's, more important now. So I went off to have the biopsy done and had to punch this thing it's like a punch biopsy where they put this thing and takes a chunk of the stuff out. And it's done under ultrasound guidance. And I said to the technician, I'm like, did you get enough? Make sure you get enough. He goes, yeah, I got enough. It'll be fine. So I waited 2 weeks, sweating every night. And then the results came back inconclusive, insufficient sample. And I was pissed off because I asked him, I'm like, did you get enough? So then I went back to the doctor and he said, the biopsy was inconclusive. You still have this white blood cell count. I think you're probably okay. I'm like, okay, thank you. I booked a flight home to Perth. So I thought, if I'm unwell, I want to go be around my family because all my family are over there. So I spent 12 months in Perth. And, the white cell count, low count stuck around for months. But eventually I just kind of started to believe I was okay and that it wasn't lymphoma or anything like that. And but I know what it's like to have a health scare like that. And I went to my mother. I went back to Perth because that's where my mother is. So even though I was a 50-year-old man, when we're sick or unwell or threatened, we want our mama. Yeah. And so you went to Mama Earth, right? Yeah. And she was there for you. Yeah. And you made a connection. Yeah. And there was a healing connection.
Yeah, so to realise everything is there, really, when you allow the recalibration in your body to happen by connecting to Mother Earth or any of the elements, really.
And what are your ways of connecting? You mentioned that you go down to the beach in the morning, and you probably stand on the sand and maybe you put your feet in the water. You tell me what's your particular?
It started to grow. Initially I was just in tears there all the time. Then I started to realize actually the sun is I'm not only witnessing the sun is witnessing me, and that seems like nothing, but when you really feel you're being witnessed, there's a real importance in that. So to
being
connect,
seen. Being witnessed.
Not so much to be seen as in who's, my ego being seen or anything, but more like Mother Earth is always witnessing me and you and everything. The entirety of creation is always witnessing me. If you tune into nature and you see how it's all intertwined with each other. There's purpose for every little thing that's happening, every little element of the animals, and then we've managed to disconnect ourselves from it. And the easiest to say is you stand on shoes, we don't even touch the earth, but it's more than that. We don't have time to even be grateful to see our food for what it is. When we go for a swim, it's interesting now to see people race, and I once did that. Oh, the oceans. I feel so great when I come out of the ocean. Everything feels like it's released. True. People run into the ocean, but I started to, because I was in that space, in a respectful way, I started introducing myself to the ocean. To me, running in the ocean is a little bit like me running unannounced into your home, grabbing something out of the fridge, go and sit on the couch, and then you look at me, and I'm like, what? What's wrong? Because I didn't even go, hey, Pete, do you mind if I come in? I'll have a little drink, I'm thirsty. And you would go, yeah, please come in. And I think that's the connection I have now with the elements. I introduce myself to the elements. So there's certain parts of your body, your saliva, under your armpits, there's DNA in there. So I spit in my hands when the waves come, and I wait until they touch me, and I introduce myself. And then I walk in a bit further, and I splash it under my arms and let that water run into the ocean. I'm announcing myself. I even swallow or spit it out, and at the end swallow a little bit as well. And I'm fully one with that element. Mind you, so much of us is water. We're made of water.
70%, I think.
Yeah, really high amount. So, yeah, I'm in this connection with the water.
What are you experiencing in terms of your felt sense of experience as you're doing that? Like, I get you're doing a ritual, but are you feeling a vibration or frequency or glow or anything like tangibly or?
Oh yeah, there's a full-on expansion happening, and although I'm from Holland, and a lot of people think, there's lots of drugs I can get my hands on. Was not a thing. I came to Australia or even to England, and people are just using all sorts of substances because it's illegal, I guess. There's this thing around it. So I've never really experienced any kind of drugs, any kind of mind opening, but I've asked people, what is it like to do psychedelics? What is it like to do? And without a fail, the experiences they're telling me, it's like, well, that's what I'm feeling when I'm standing in the ocean.
Wow.
And not only when I'm there, you can imagine when that's just my daily connection. It's not just a routine as doing a routine. It's a ceremonial thing. I'm showing respect, and water shows respect to me, and then the wind comes, and surely, I feel it, and I connect with it, and it picks up. It's like hugging me because I'm just standing there away, like being on the boat, being away from my other stuff. I'm just experiencing this. I'm being enveloped and loved and seen and witnessed and held by the creation story. And the birds come on, or there's always something happening, amazing happening. But because I stand still long enough in that space of not being busy with the rest of my day, more gets revealed to you, as you described the fishbowl and the, it starts to snowball. All of a sudden it's like, wow, this magic. So it's there in everyday life. You can sit in your beautiful garden here, and if you sit there with a cup of tea,
dragonflies will come.
You start this and that. Yeah, it's about having space for it and attention. But the feeling that I feel is expansion and enormous calm, that I also inhale the elements. So I inhale the water, so the water can become me, what it's like to experience me. And then I exhale myself in my head, in the water, and I become the ocean. So there's such a deep connection that I feel with all the elements that I feel safe. Not that I'm not safe, but, whatever happens, I can just tune into for a moment. It's like a self-regulation almost. Something happens, and I go, let's just see if I can hear a bird just for a moment. Okay, all right, now how do I step forward? So it's a safety in even day-to-day life to be that connected. Everything else is just noise. look over here. You must be worried about that. But do we? Do we really need to be worried about all this stuff? Do you know when this is happening? Like, we'll see, especially in this whole COVID time, also here.
Yeah.
So they're going to come to you and they're going to do blah, 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 and inject you. I'm like, well, first I'll have a look. If that's actually for me, I might be able to step out of the way and it's not for me.
Yeah.
If it is for me and I get wrestled to the ground, I'll transmute it. And they're like, how? I'm like, trust me, because I already went through this process. My whole health. Trust me, I won't go into fear. If that is what I need to do to transmute something that's been injected in me, I will find a way. I will find a way. And it's, in other episodes happened actually with a tick bite, a massive tick bite, and I moved it so quickly, like my whole face was swollen up. I went to friends and after 3 days, completely gone, and I started to see 3D. Initially, I used to see 2D only. And then after day 2, I'm like, oh, my eye's opening because I started to see normal. And I was like, no, it's fully closed. And I didn't realize what was happening till later. Someone says, oh, you probably activated your third eye. Some people can read through their third eye when they're blind. I'm like, oh, okay, well, probably I did activate something. You know, you can transmute things. And I was laughing because I thought I transmuted this poison in my body so quickly just by thinking I will work it out. I will allow my body to do it. I stopped eating, no digestion, just water, and allow the body just to transmute whatever it is not yours.
You've got to have a lot of faith and courage to take that approach. I got a tick bite and got the big bullseye rash, which is a sign that you've probably been bitten by the tick. The tick that has the tick-borne, the tick-borne ill. Yeah, there's like four different bacteria: Rickettsia, Babesia, Borrelia, or something. That can cause serious illness. That they deny that we have Lyme disease in Australia, but we definitely have tick-borne diseases because I got very sick, and I ended up going on 6 weeks of doxycycline, which is like a pretty nasty antibiotic, because I had a friend who'd had Lyme. And I knew I didn't want to have Lyme. Like, that's a horrible long-term chronic illness. And so I was willing to take the antibiotics, knowing what it was going to do to my gut microbiome and everything else. But I did that anyway. Yeah. Would I have had the faith to trust that I could transmute that energy? No, I don't have that belief.
No, but everyone's different.
Yeah.
And also what's rising for me is we are creating, and this is quite confronting actually, we're creating our own experience, our own illusion. So when you think you're in a shit show because all sorts of things are happening in your life, there's a reflection, you know, we've drawn that in to learn, but some things are not everything is for the same person. So where I got in, I know I'm here to transmute things, to bring alignment in chaos. That's just what I'm feeling rising strongly. But you have a different theme running. So for you, it would maybe not work. Or maybe now when you know, oh, maybe I should dabble into that a little bit and trust it when something else happens and I'll do it. Maybe I'm more ready. But maybe it's not your thing. And it doesn't actually matter. I think this is creating such a big division. We talk about, no, it should be this way, and it's like we're all in our own experience. Yeah. As long as you're not in your own experience wishing you were in the other experience, you're good. Because when I felt like, will I be fine? And I started to journey my health journey very differently, obviously. It came to me. I was like, how would I be if I made a mistake and I should have gone the medical world and I died from this? How would I be? And I checked in with myself and I thought, I'll be good. I'm the one to blame if that was the case, me, because everyone else is like, over here. But I would have lived such a great life. I went to hospital a couple of times and you sit there in the room and it's like, these people look half dead that are there.
Is that the staff or the patients?
The patients. Right. I'm like, that's just not me. That's just not me. And so for me, but I'm not to say that's like that for everyone. For me, I was like, that's clearly not where I'm meant to be. I would wilt away if I disempower myself and think someone else is going to help me. But for other people, they are not having that strong kind of, is this my life? I'm going to experiment how this is going to go. But actually, it's an ancient remembering. It's a deep remembering with the magic of the body and how in alignment we can be.
I'm getting a picture of someone who doesn't want to outsource their health and wellness to some external entity, that rather you'd want to take ownership of your own health and wellness and approach that through the ways that are meaningful to you. And some of these ways sound quite ancient. And, you know, I noticed in your bio that you're into ritual and ceremony and frequency and energy and shamanic practices. And I've experimented quite a lot with shamanic practices and psychedelics and alternative healing methods. And there's a lot of great stuff in that, and it's not all great, like anything. But there are certainly a lot of alternative health things that I know work that are frowned upon by the mainstream medical model.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting year we're in, because I think a lot will become known to a bigger audience of why that is, why it's frowned upon. Why were people removed that healed themselves or their neighbors with tinctures and teas and energy work, you know, from our history, you know, the witches, and why did that actually happen? And I think we're going to discover that this year, what the real, I mean, I know it, but as you know, sometimes you just need to let it unfold so more people start to see what really the story is behind natural medicine, homeopathy, all these things. Why is that impossible to study all these things, and why is it now rising again?
Yeah, I know. I know.
We know it, but
I think I know why.
Yeah, but it's not so much even that I say, you know, this is why. It's more like, that's my journey now. I don't have to convince anyone. I just need to embody the wisdom. That is my medicine, and then I emanate a field that people resonate with or not.
I think it's, you know, they put profit before people. I mean, that's my belief, my understanding, and that may not be a popular thing to say. Someone who's worked as a nurse for 30 years in the mainstream hospital system, but I've certainly seen and witnessed profits being put before people, and people having their autonomy taken away from them, in a way that's not okay, and that I don't agree with. And I know that there's some very successful treatments for certain illnesses that are frowned upon and that are banned or made unavailable, and then you're not offered any alternative other than the mainstream alternative. And when you look at the huge amounts of money to be made, to me it's pretty clear.
That's it, and I'm the same. But, you know, it's like, how much are we going to talk about it other than just it's unfolding. I'm getting news from my father he's in the Netherlands, and things are coming there. It means, you know, more and more things are being revealed. Did you know? And I'm like, I'm just holding space. I said, I did know. But it's almost like, why didn't you tell me? Well, I was telling you, but it didn't land.
Look, I'm not against the mainstream medical system. I worked in it, and it's got a lot going for it. And, you know, if you're in a car accident, you show up at the emergency department, there's a chance you're going to live. If you sit at home, you'll probably die. And even our young daughter had a bit of a health crisis shortly after birth, and the wonderful team at Lismore Hospital did an amazing job with her. So I have faith in aspects of the healthcare system, but there are other parts of it in terms of how they manage chronic illness, what medicines you're allowed to have and what you aren't, like the regulation of all that. I'm not a fan of it all, and I think the whole thing needs to be reformed, and that's what we're seeing in the States at the moment with RFK. I think he's going to do what he can to shake up the healthcare system over there. I mean, you lived in San Francisco. The obesity problem in the US. Oh my God. And if with all that technology and all that, you know, medical knowledge, and we're getting sicker, then the model's not the correct model. So what's the journey you're on in terms of how you personally want to contribute your esoteric knowledge or your understanding of well-being? Like, what's your pathway? You told me you're going to go speak in front of a couple of hundred people soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're braver than I am. I mean, public speaking is scarier than death for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not that I was...
You were invited to do it.
I'm invited to do it. And this is a key thing for me, what I'm noticing. And that's on a lot of levels. Instead of telling other people or wanting something done, ultimately you asked me to be on this podcast.
Yeah, I did.
That works for me, how I am.
Yes.
Much better. It's much better for me to get questions asked than just starting talking on a topic.
I get that.
And that I feel is knowing that about myself, which again is not... other people are great. They just hand them a topic and they go for hours on a topic, and that's really profound stuff. I just work better in a dynamic, I guess. And my journey is more embodied. When I start to realize this deep transformation I was going through with my health and reclaiming myself, feeling disempowered and then empowered, these are all big topics. And although my voice is my medicine, I've known that for a little while, that I'm meant to be talking, and I see it more as something will come through me. Mother Earth, there's laws in the earth, there's ancient laws that the indigenous of this country, but also our own indigenous lineage lived by, and they were part of nature. They didn't separate themselves, so there was a harmony going on in life cycles. I lost my train of thought, but anyway. So I'm embodying what I went through. I see it as that is my learning. Instead of studying anything, I'm studying life in that way. And now I'm emanating an energy. And that's been with me for a while, but then it's a little bit like it's so in the unseen realm. Then how do I know? Other than I'm like, well, I have tried talking and convincing people.
It's intuition. When we know but we don't know how we know, that's intuition.
Yeah, and it's a deep rising.
Yeah.
Somehow we know, and it's earth law, it's universal law. Some things are just a certain way and other things don't line up with that. So if you can tap into that, which is, I guess, your intuition or however we feel we can. And then I started to, literally last year, to notice, often I do my practice with my eyes closed initially because I didn't want anyone. I know a lot of people being in hospitality for all this time. I was here in Byron, and I was in my healing process and also initially crying. So I had this big hood on with this dress and closed my eyes so that I could feel free in my experience. And people may have walked up, I would never know. So I still do that. And then people afterwards come. And the other day when I started moving from one part to another part, a woman out of a group of people that had witnessed me, it appears, came to ask me. But they, the way they're talking is very different now than before. It's not being laughed off. It's actually, can I just thank you, this woman said to me, for your honoring. She saw that I was honoring the earth, the sun.
It's a nice way of putting it, honoring.
Yeah, and so that's what I feel I'm doing. And I've tried to convince others, that the key thing is we're off the earth, we're on the earth. We need to establish a connection, however you do that, with the earth. And people are like, I have no time for that. I've got kids and everything. Yeah, I know, I understand. But you don't have to have it in the morning. It can be in the afternoon. You can have when you have your coffee or your tea. And I stopped all that because I realized it's a little bit like you want to study nutrition. Then you have the professor who studies and tells you in the class, and then in the break he's eating McDonald's around the corner. Or you have that neighbor that cooks out of the garden and, makes the thing. You have a bit of a cough and I've made this for you. Not studied, embodied in the wisdom. Has noticed in their process, not claiming any title, just learning this works, maybe remembers something from their grandmother. And so that's like that for me. And that I feel is how I step forward. People are now actually coming. It's coming that people are coming, Initially it's like, oh my God, I wish I could share more of what I know. And I realized by going in and embodying it so deeply that the energy around me changes is making the biggest impact.
Have you had people come up to you at the beach and want to join you in your honouring?
Well, I had to set up a space of a boundary, an energetic boundary.
Okay.
That's partly was closing my eyes so I wouldn't know.
Right.
Also, when people initially would come up and say something, I would just not open my eyes.
Okay, right.
And not because I was in the space of like, can you not see that I'm busy? But more like, why would I come out of my own space?
Right.
out of my own self-respect, when I'm honoring and deeply connecting. So yeah, it's setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is a bit of a topic at the moment. A lot of people are like, I need to set boundaries, and people need to find a voice. And yes, but partly that is not by putting a fence around yourself. Don't you come, this is my terrain. It's an energetic field that has to do with respect.
Yeah.
I respect myself so deeply that you will feel, and I've experienced this, people come from a distance and then they feel something. They feel like it's not the right time and go away. I'm not in anger. I'm not like I'm watching you getting close to my fence. And so I think we're going into a whole new, not new era, but more people are going to understand it's all about the energy. You walk into a shop, it feels great or not.
I remember when I was in an ashram in India, and it was in the most dangerous part of India, a state called Bihar, which is known for banditry and crime and all that, and even the Indians don't go there. And I was doing a 6-month program at an ashram, and there was this young, attractive Spanish girl that came and was doing the yoga there. She's only about 5'2", and she'd been travelling around India for 2 years. She came and did this program, and she's just so sweet and lovely. I'm like, how have you survived? She goes, the first year was tough.
Yeah.
And she said, and then I learnt to project an aura. And she goes, I get zero hassle.
That's it.
And if you ever get on a train in India, if you're an attractive woman, I mean, you're going to love guys.
Everyone starts to lean in.
Oh, yeah, they lean right in on your energy field. And so I get that we actually can project our energy out and that energy must meet the other person's energy, and the transactions taking place over there in an energetic field rather than in a personal space. Yeah. So you're able to do that. I can do that somewhat. I used to be...
We're all able to do it. It's just that we don't take the time maybe to connect with it, because it's not unique to me or anyone in particular.
For me, I got there a different way. So I used to be a big people pleaser, like a bit of a doormat, and I would say yes all the time. And so I had friends that would take advantage of me and exploit me because I was that kind of guy. And then I realised this isn't working for me so much. I need to say no more, be more assertive, and put clear boundaries up. And I need to get comfortable with conflict and confrontation. So I did a bunch of training and became really comfortable with conflict. And now those exploitive type of people don't come around anymore. And I don't get hassled like I used to. And someone even once complimented me on that. This woman said, you look like you're far too comfortable with confrontation. I said, thank you. That's a wonderful compliment. Yeah. And so just through me feeling energetically more comfortable and confident in able to repel unwanted energy, people pick that up. Because I guess we're broadcasting that signal.
Yeah, totally.
And then people are intuitive enough to read that signal.
Well, and as I said before, like everyone kind of knows that, although they feel they're not into energy, you go into a shop and sometimes you go like, not feeling good in here, I need to leave. And it's that, or sometimes you're like, oh, this feels great. So it's there. It's just not been in the spotlight as much as it is now, and more people are working with it.
I worked up at the Gold Coast Hospital in Southport, in the emergency department there. And the Gold Coast has a totally different vibe or feel to, say, Byron or Mullumbimby. In mindset as much as anything else. And, you know, when I told people, I was actually living in Mullum at the time. Where do you live? I said, Mullumbimby. Oh, you're down there with all those crazy hippies and tinfoil hat wearing people like this. A real negative judgment of people who live down this way and have alternative beliefs, you know, and I picked it up. And so, you know, if any of those people were listening to this podcast, I mean, what are they talking about energy? What are they talking about, you know, this and that, you know? But to disregard energy is crazy, because the whole material world is held together by energetic bonds. And so you can't just claim only to recognise the material world when every bit of that is held together energetically. So to completely dismiss energy is absolutely crazy. But I guess maybe we just become, maybe it's some sort of observer bias because we can't see the energy as much, although we may be able to feel it, but we see matter everywhere. So maybe we've become trained away from. And it sounds like what you're doing is you've reconnected to these energetic frequencies or energies that you feel, and you think is part of what you're up to, wanting to spread the message in this and have other people connect in with this message and maybe even take up some of these practices? Is that where you're
my vision actually
what is your vision?
My vision is, or as I see it, that it's not me talking to a lot of people or seeing people for sessions.
Sure.
Like in large amounts. It's more like the person that's ready that connects because, you know, they connect with that energy. There's something very different about me now than 10 years ago, let's say.
Yes.
I'm holding a very different energy, and obviously I'm recalibrating and I'm starting to look different and I feel much better and I'm getting older. So it doesn't quite match up with even that story, like how come, you know, your life must be easy, or, you know, that kind of thing, which is far from it. It's almost inverted. It's because I go into the shadow, because I go and rewrite my story. I'm holding keys that, yes, they are individual to me, but because I'm holding a solution to the problems that we have, I'm emanating, as you said as well, I'm emanating a comfort in my body, in my presence, in my being. So with that, somebody is sensitive to that, they find me. They get so activated because when they are ready, and I've learned, I don't need to wish them over. They will make the biggest shift and they go back to their families, to their work, to their friends. And they will activate, because they are so different, they will activate their friends, whoever is ready in their group of friends. So I don't need all the people to come to me.
Right.
It's those people that feel in that way and can recalibrate and holding space in a very ancient way. This is what was done. I envision also in other lives, or as a grandmother, I lived on the edge of the town. I wasn't right in it. And people would come to me.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen it. And when I work with fire, particularly with fire, I look down at my hands, or sometimes with animals, roadkill, I journey with that as well and honor them. I look at my hands, and that's when I see myself in past life, but I never see my face. I'm like, how do I know this? Because no one has showed me in this lifetime. Fire was something that the guys always did, or was a marshmallow fire, until I was invited to sit with a sacred fire and with an indigenous group and an extended group that they were holding space for. And all of a sudden on that day, and I just pay attention what happens. So there were fire keepers, and I was just looking, and all of a sudden it was like, Coco, can you hold this fire? And it's a sacred fire with responsibility of keeping it going. And so, all of a sudden I sat in this position and I realized this was ancient. I never meditated typically sitting down, but I looked at the fire and this ancient feeling came, and I got activated in these old ways that are doesn't matter which culture, it's very similar. A lot of people here go, the indigenous, I wish they would tell us. And go back into your own lineage, go back into your own blood. The codes are there and they literally activate. The more you shovel out your conditioning and heal your traumas, the more the activation codes are in your blood. They're in your blood, and I've had a couple of times massive activations that you realize, wow, I'm just taller in my understanding out of seemingly nowhere. But it's that deep ancient remembering. When I'm with the elements.
Yeah, like my mind gets blown in these conversations because I'm open enough to be able to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of me that tries to understand it at the logical level. And I know that a lot of what's really important is not logical or linear.
Yeah.
That it has to be gleaned another way than through logic. And maybe it even is logical. Maybe, you know, our codes are actually in our DNA, and our DNA is in our blood. That's what I was thinking. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. And then how do we activate those codes? Well, isn't DNA always being expressed? So isn't it always activated? But then I know that's not necessarily what you're talking about, because that's me going down a linear path.
Well, on that though, DNA, as I see it, so we have a bunch of DNA that can express, or genes that can express themselves in different levels. So to say, it's in my genes, you know, a bit of an excuse not to do the work because my grandfather, my father, whatever. But you can express that key, that gene or that DNA better in a higher version. So not in a shadow side, but in a, probably like 3 or even more levels of, and that's to do with your food, obviously, but also with coming out of your mind. It's interesting, wisdom and knowledge, so I haven't really studied anything. You send me a podcast. Yeah, I didn't even know you were doing podcasts, so I said to you, can you send me one so I can listen? So the introduction was about this person has studied this, and this. It's kept me away for a long time about, sharing my message or the message that wants to come through me, because I'm like, well, I've never studied anything. I did hospitality management and I can cook, but that's it. But when you study life, these keys that can get activated through taking self-responsibility and to learn not to be in the knowledge mind of studied wisdom, and I've done 6 years of this, so surely I know exactly. I can talk on the topic. Or can you? Or are you maybe the nutritionist professor that's eating McDonald's around the corner anyway? Are you actually embodying this? So that requires coming out of just relying on the mind to figure it all out.
Yeah.
To come in the heart. And what manifested in my body was around heart trauma. I realized it's heart trauma. It's unprocessed heart trauma that manifested in my body. And that was my health scare. So if I need to do anything, I need to come back to my heart and to trust. But as soon as you start connecting with the earth or anything like that, you start to feel more relaxed and more connected and at home. You trust that you will know the right thing. It will come through your heart. And this is the big transition we're in, out of the knowledge into the heart space. Does this feel right?
I've got a bad dad joke for you about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Yep. And I can tell dad jokes now because I'm a dad.
Dad. Yeah.
And it's just, did you know the difference between knowledge and wisdom? So knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salad.
Yeah.
I told you it's a bad joke.
Yeah.
But it's the difference.
Yeah.
I have this other thought that's been on my mind for probably couple of years now, ever since COVID, and it's around how we measure intelligence. And I don't think intelligence is necessarily what they say it is, and I don't think we're necessarily measuring it properly. And my point on this is that if we're going to measure intelligence, part of that measure has to be knowing when you're being deceived. Like if you don't know when you're being deceived or lied to, then how intelligent are you really? And I know plenty of very intelligent people that are friends or colleagues or whatever, and they took a certain treatment over the last 5 years that I certainly wouldn't take, and I think they were deceived. And they're very intelligent people. Now, maybe I'm the fool and maybe I've been deceived. That remains to be seen, but a lot of this stuff now is coming out and being revealed about the damage and the side effects and the impact. I mean, you've only got to look up the VAERS, the American Vaccine Adverse Event Registry System, to see how much harm has come from that treatment. Yeah. And now when that treatment was offered, I looked at it and I'm like, well, this is a genetic experiment. This is not a vaccine, because vaccines used to be you get a dead virus and you inject it and your body recognises that virus as a foreign object and produces antibodies towards it. This isn't that at all. But they're still calling it a vaccine, but it wasn't. It was a genetic experiment that had never been done before. So they want to conduct a genetic experiment on humans that have never been done before, and then they want to make the manufacturers of that product immune from liability.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hang on, all for a disease that is likely man-made, and Trump's just come out and said that it was made in a lab in Wuhan. I mean, and that it was leaked. And it's all this stuff is now coming out. Eventually, the truth comes to the surface. And this is a man-made virus through gain of function, and it's no deadlier than the flu. And yet we all have to have this proprietary product. What a great business plan! If your product is everybody has to have it, it's a great business model. Exactly. And so I'm looking at all this, and I'm just putting the dots together. And then when they start saying, oh, we'll give you this, you can get a burger and fries if you get the vaccine, they started giving incentives. I'm like, if this thing is so good, people should be lining up for it. Why do you have to force this and push this on people? Mm-hmm. And so I just saw all that. Mm-hmm. And my mind put that all together pretty quickly and thought, I think I'll opt out of this one. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I did. Yeah. I chose to opt out. And for people that opted in, I'm not saying you're not intelligent, but I am saying intelligence ought to include knowing when you're being deceived. And I think people were deceived about that.
Yeah, it's so much it's so many layers to talk to in a way, but we underestimate a little bit that we have access to this information, which is very different, and I know this from people living in different parts of the world or different situations. Where we live, there's always been a little bit of an energy of like, let's first really have a look at it.
Yeah, skepticism, healthy skepticism.
Yeah, like a curiosity, let's say. That's not everywhere. The energy is not like that everywhere. So a lot of people are just like, some of my family members, like, so you're saying that the government or the doctors are here, what? Like, can't even fathom that. So very different energetic field or a very different information field or whatever. So it's also to do with being more empowered. You said you went through a trauma of, like a scare. That definitely kind of reshuffles you a little bit. Like, you're not the same afterwards. So maybe that wakes up certain discernment as well of like, how are things really? You made decisions, what lined up for you and what didn't. There's so much to say for it. Some people eat so much like sugar in their food and waters, their fluorides, that it's actually numbed that part of, and that's not even talking about emotional intelligence or actual intellect. I think there's so many factors to that, and
fear too. So
and then the fear, yeah.
Because I was afraid. I was definitely afraid during the COVID time, and I doubt anybody wasn't afraid. And I think you are either afraid of the virus or the vaccine or both.
Yeah.
And I was afraid of both.
Yeah.
But I was more afraid of the vaccine because I think my body can deal with a virus.
Yeah, and
but I don't know what's in this product that they want me to have. And the problem with fear, and we mentioned this, is that fear causes a stress response, and you get amygdala hijack, and you go into fight, flight, or freeze. And when you do that, you can't think straight. No. And so that's the way people got dumbed down, through fear. And this is what I think people need to know this about how susceptible we are to fear, and that how fear can be used by governments and media and institutions and corporations to put us in a state of perpetual fight or flight where we are dumbed down because our prefrontal cortex, our thinking executive brain, isn't functioning because the amygdala's hijacked it. And I even remember during that, I was in fight or flight. I think a lot of people probably have PTSD from those years. And so, the fear response. And look, I don't have a negative judgment of people. My belief around that is that if I'm being lied to, it's better that I know that than I don't know that. And so I trust, but I verify. Trust in Allah, but tie up your camel.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, just the whole emotional intelligence, because whereas emotional or intellectual intelligence, it sits in different parts of your body in a way. When you see someone from the side, my posture started to change. I was very aware that, most people have that slightly bent over, so that means the brain is physically in front of the heart. So people, it's interesting when and you start to kind of just pay attention, and you see most, including myself, I was kind of protecting my heart, and I went through this massive thing of my heart, and I started to notice, without me forcefully standing up, that when I look at my reflection now, my heart sits in front of my brain. So that indicates that the decisions run through my heart. Yeah. And the mind and all the things are there, but it's not in charge. It's not so susceptible to, oh my God, now we need to do this and this. First of all, let's ground myself, come back, recalibrate, and then make that decision. So with anything like you just summed up as well, does this make sense? why is there so much fear? And why is the fear not being in that situation you described? That's what I started to go. Initially, everyone had a bit of a wobble of like, what's happening here? And I'm like, and then this rule, and then that rule, and then a little bit more tightening. And I'm like, why didn't I just roll it out? This is what we're doing. Boom. And I start to realize they just make sure that no one ever fully relaxes into this new situation. Okay, now we have this under control. Now we need to. There's always this lingering fear. And I start to realize this is the biggest thing to control people because no one can then tap back into themselves.
Right.
In their own resources when you're slightly, there's so much resourcefulness now, so much remembering we can tap into. That's just in our blood. If you really think of it, you're born, you have had a daughter, that the blood, your codes are in there for her to work with.
Yeah, I like that when you were saying about the brain and the heart. And I think we've actually got 3 brains. The gut.
Yeah,
gut is
gut feeling.
brain.
Most people kind of do know.
I think the language of the brain is logic, and then the language of the heart is emotion and feelings, and the language of the gut is or mm.
That's it.
That's
gut feeling.
That's the gut.
It's
it's
a yes or no. Then
it only has yes or no.
Yeah.
And so I think when I was trying to decide, do I take this genetic experiment or not?
Yeah.
I thought about it as much as I could. I got some fear around it, but my gut's like,
yeah.
And I just listened to my gut.
Yeah. And for me, it was like trusting my body can actually.
Yeah. And I ended up getting COVID. I got Delta early on, and I was sick for 2 weeks, lost 6 kilos. Like it was not wasn't just a flu. It was horrible. Like I was hallucinating, seeing dark spirits in my periphery, night sweats. It was shocking. Weird pains in crazy places that were unexplained. I knew that when I had it, I was not surprised when they come out and said this didn't come from a wet market or from a bat, that this came out of a lab, but through gain of function.
It's an interesting, because one thing I'm now kind of leaning into is that's all the labeling of it's a virus and all that. I wouldn't be surprised that it's actually a detox response to all the things that are happening. You know how we were fighting this 5G, and then when the floods were on, eventually they installed a tower in Mullumbimby, around the floods time when no one was there. And I think with all that technology, I'm noticing it lately with the phone, there's something is happening because I cannot actually hold that phone properly anymore. And I'm hearing more people about it. So I feel there's in that realm, there's an amping up happening from 3, 4, 5Gs rolled out around that time that COVID came and started massively in China there. So what time will tell. I usually tend to then go, you know what, I don't really need to know. My feeling is it's probably detox responses of our body that we're going through, that it's not necessarily a virus, and it's just like, we made a virus. Maybe. And it was made there, and it keeps us busy with engaging with the story. That's nothing to do with creation. We're not creating our life, our beautiful, vision of our lives, when we are still trying to follow, now this person's saying that. So I've stopped engaging, but I can tap into it when they're spoken about. But for me, it feels like every time something rolled out, like the radio, the movies with the radio in the war, and the ladies were, who do you want to speak to? And they connected. Those women all got cancer and had horrible responses, but it's not really out there for us to listen to. So all these radio frequencies that are being amped up from that moment to now, our body is just adjusting to us. And some people can adjust well to it, have nothing going on. Other people have bad reaction and potentially can't upgrade and die. And then we're in between going through an upgrade of some sort, delta, whatever you want to call it. But it's to do for me with frequency, an upgrading frequency, because when you hear things and you can go, it resonates or it doesn't. And when I started to see that, so I was like, that's for me resonates, that we're just dealing with, and I'm with an amped up frequency that our body is recalibrating to. So we don't have to even be afraid of it, because there's no escaping it. It's other than allowing, and that's why grounding. That's why taking more and more people are turning to yoga, breath work, and everywhere, because we need to connect with one of the elements or all. in a daily practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd take the conversation somewhere else because we bumped into each other, having not seen each other for a couple of years at the farmers market. We had a brief conversation, and you mentioned the word patriarchy, and my ears picked up. I'm like, I want to hear your particular conversation or understanding of. I was curious about what did you mean by the patriarchy, and so I'd like to have that conversation, and because I've got my own views, and I'm just curious where our views might overlap or where they might differ, and I love to have conversations, particularly when I don't agree or when someone doesn't agree with me. I think they're the best conversations, and I'm not saying that we will be in disagreements about it, but I think if the only conversations we have is when we agree on everything, that's boring to me.
Yeah.
Like if someone's got a different
spice.
opinion to me, I want to how did you come to that opinion?
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Exactly.
So what's your version of the patriarchy, and how do you see, why did you use that word and in what context, and how do you see the patriarchy playing out in modern day life?
Well, I guess like with patriarch or matriarch, beautiful, patriarch is the masculine and matriarch is the feminine embodiment of, well, the masculine qualities like stepping forward, action, the real pure masculine aspects that are in balance in a person. So if that is in a man, he can be the patriarch, he can be the leader of a tribe, a country, and then you have that in a matriarch as well. That can also be a woman who's in that forward. The reason why I guess how we got to talk about it, I came back from Holland after some real big initiations there with my family. It's always typical when you go there. You spoke of a car crash before. My father was, and how good it is to have a hospital, because my father, I just visited for a month to reconnect with my brother because my dad was struggling with that disconnect. Came back 2 weeks after, got a phone call from my brother. Luckily enough, I connected back with him. Dad's in a car crash, he's in a hospital. And so luckily enough, broken back, all broken neck, everything broken. And amazing that the hospitals are there to fix him up. So I went there and I stayed 3 months, and I was able to do my own stuff because I stayed there at nighttime. So I brought in my kookaburra wing and I just programmed water and brought crystals. But I was just like, this is amazing. No one is even witnessing me doing this. So my dad started to heal and then started to realize he is, and that's in that context we spoke, he's holding that wounded patriarch. So there's nothing wrong with the patriarch or the matriarch. But when something is wounded, it can play out really badly. And
the shadow aspect, so the light, the gift and the shadow of both.
Yeah. So the patriarch is nothing negative. It's just when you look at the world, this is a theme that's been with us for a long time. We're in the masculine dreaming. In the Aboriginal of this country, they call it the kangaroo dreaming. We were in that. And that's like hopping forward. But if you want to revisit something, it might take a while. You see that in council here typically. Hop around to revisit. That's the time we're coming out of.
Okay.
And then the matriarch or the feminine dreaming is the emu dreaming. And that's where in the women see and the man sit and hold the harmony and the safety of the eggs. They even sit on the eggs and all that. And so the collaboration between male and female is going to be very different. But we don't know this. Anyway, the masculine or the patriarch that's wounded is like almost narcissistic, the king of the castle, and no matter what, and that's what I experienced with my father. After he started to heal, he realized I needed to go because I was now witness to his life, and his life wasn't anything like he portrayed. And that's typical woundedness. I am telling you how it is, and if you don't listen to me, you are just being removed, literally like thrown out of the nest. And I realized I was conditioned with this because my dad's so traumatized. That's how he expresses his patriarchal qualities are wounded. That now means that my masculine or patriarchal side of myself is also wounded. And he's just reflecting, what do I now do with someone at this time in my life where I've just helped him heal? Yeah, and I navigated that in a different way this time. I realized I can only be the witness. I need to unhook myself from this part of myself that's still wounded and become the witness without any thought. So if I was in the woundedness of him controlling me like insanely, you see this. This is what happens in a way in schools, in jobs, in businesses, governments. We tell you how it is. But no. We're not going to listen to that. This is just how it is. It's a sense of safety for the people that are in that position. Like my father operated like that because he feels safe. He's so traumatized that if he doesn't do that, he doesn't even know how to do any of the work. So he rather actually tells me what to do in such a way that it's just abusive. And this is the theme that's running, but we're also coming out of that. There's a massive time of healing globally and a rebalancing in that. In the time of the masculine, we've looked at all the aspects of the kangaroo dreaming, let's say, or the masculine. And this is where we've landed. We've landed in a wounded version of the masculine. Women as well. In a time that women were like, I'm done with just making the food and being at home. They stepped up, want to vote, all good. But they stepped up in their wounded masculine, tried to compete with the man. And we're all in that wounded side of the masculine because the theme was masculine and we have not had a amazing role model of a healthy, balanced male or patriarch, not for a long time.
Say that last sentence again. We've not had...
None of us really. Most people we haven't had that healthy patriarchal role model, let's say, or archetype.
Well, how do we know? How do we know there aren't hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of examples of healthy, unwounded masculine men out there that are just living a normal life, raising their family, going off to work? You're saying we don't
They're
have...
probably there, but we're not conditioned with it. Most of us are not conditioned, hence so much trauma is coming up. There's a lot of woundedness, and often it is in that masculine realm because that's the cycle we're coming out of. The big, as I call it, the dreaming. We're going more in a feminine side of like, okay, let's go more in a balanced space with ourselves. Let's open our heart. Let's be more than just doing. There's a big transition of like, so what are you doing today? What are your goals? You have a job. Where's that going to lead you? And I'm experiencing for myself, for example, it's been hard to go, well, what am I doing? I'm more being. It's more in that being feminine space within myself that we're recalibrating. All of us are recalibrating because there's been a big energy change of massive cycles. I don't know how long they are, but thousands of years, 25,000 years or something.
Yeah, I guess I got lost a little bit there only because, it's hard for me to think in those time frames in terms of cycles that big. Also, for me, it's like I know lots of great men who are awesome examples of, the divine masculine or the healthy masculine, and so it's not congruent with a suggestion that we don't have examples of that. Most
people wouldn't be exposed when they grew up to a healthy masculine because of the war.
I don't think my dad did the best he could, but I think he had wounded masculine. His dad was the one who was in the internment camp. My mum's father went off to war and came back and died shortly after that. I had quite a few uncles. Some exuded good masculine qualities, others not so much. Patriarchy refers to father rather than masculine. Matriarchy is mother. So it's more father and mother than man or woman or masculine and feminine. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And, archy, like monarchy, one ruler, oligarchy, many rulers or a few rulers, and patriarchy, father rules, matriarchy, mother rules. So I think those two things can coexist.
Totally.
Yeah, and that the patriarch rules some areas of life, and then the matriarch rules the others. And in my little domicile here, I understand that my role as patriarch is to lead in certain areas, providing. So I work on my business. I work to provide, to protect and provide safety. And so I got a big stick under the bed and a big flashlight, and I work out at the gym. And so that's where I lead. I wouldn't say rule, because I don't see myself as a ruler, but I take the lead in those areas. And then my partner, who's a mother, a matriarch of our family, she handles most of the child rearing, though not all of it, and most of the management of the home. And that seems to work for us. And what doesn't work for us, if I start slipping into the feminine role too much, which I tried in the beginning, I thought I just need to throw all my support into helping her because she's having a difficult time raising our child.
Yeah.
And then I went too far that way and lost my patriarchal, I need to be focusing on my purpose, my mission, provide and protect, and also to be, this is the one part where I'm not very good at the moment in terms of my patriarchal, is that I think another aspect of the patriarch is to be a calm, safe place in a storm. Because the feminine, but this is true for masculine too, but I see it more in the feminine, is the emotional world is so much richer and has so many more colours in the palette. And particularly after childbirth and all these hormones, there's this emotional chaos or emotional storm. And I'm not saying this is necessarily true, but it has been expressed that the feminine aspect is chaos and the male aspect is order. But it may not be that the way, but I've heard it said that way. So I do see one of my roles as a patriarch in my family is to be a calm, safe place in the storm of her emotional world. And I'm failing there because she's going through a whole lot of emotional things around becoming a mother and, processing her own traumas from her own childhood at the same time. And she has these big emotional reactions, and I'm not a calm, safe place for her to come with those. So that's where I'm looking at these concepts of matriarchy and patriarchy and, are we going from one area of patriarch to matriarch, or is it that they can coexist and that we need to look at, I think Jordan Peterson said this, and not everybody likes him, but I think he says some great stuff, because somebody once said to him, look, men and women, the feminine and masculine been at each other's throats forever, and there's this big divide and big division between the masculine and the feminine. He goes, where are you getting that from? He says, if anything, men and women have cooperated for millennia to go from Stone Age to feudal systems to slavery to create what we've created today, and which is mostly good, and that we couldn't have got here without cooperation. So there's been way much more cooperation and working together and teamwork than division. And I think we can create more division than there is by how we see things and the language we use and the words we use around things. And so I guess I see it a little bit differently to you, but not that I sense that it's quite a hot topic at the moment in that there is some discord between masculine and feminine energies, between men and women even. And it's certainly played out, and as a coach I get plenty of people coming to me with those kind of issues. And I don't claim to understand the big picture at all. And in fact, I think where I can make the most difference is in the area of influence that I can have. I can't change the world, but if I can manage my home, that's ecology.
Oh, you're changing the world, and you're raising a child.
That's ecology. So ecology is knowing your home. So ecos means home, and logos means knowledge. So knowing my home, if I know my home, I can manage it. So management of the home is economics, ecos and nomos. So I've in terms of ecology and economics, I need to be providing that mostly in my home rather than thinking globally. And so what can I do in my home in that way? If I know my home well enough, I can manage it well enough. And so that's where I need to have my eyes. A friend of mine who's a clinical psychologist, she's also my daughter's godmother, one of her ex-partners was in the SAS, and they're one of the most elite trained military people on the planet, and they train them in Swanbourne, mostly in WA. I used to live near there. And so these guys are hyper-trained individuals, and they've got this concept of 1 square metre, where they train to be able to control that square metre around them. And I think that makes them so good at unarmed combat, because they're focusing on the 1 square metre where they have control and influence. And I don't have much influence. The further something is away from me, the further I can impact and have any influence on it. So while there may be global things going on in the masculine and feminine, and I do, my radar picks up on those conversations, and I'm very interested and curious about them, I'm also looking at where's the matriarch and patriarch showing up for me? Where's the masculine and feminine? Where's the shadow of it? And where's the gift of it? And I'm still working it out. But one area where I can improve is not getting emotionally triggered by my partner, and show up a bit more calm in the storm.
It's beautiful how you describe it, that patriarch mate, the mother and father. Yeah, more from a masculine feminine, but yeah. And to hold that, you actually do change more than you think, because there's a new soul there.
Yes.
So we think we don't change the world if we don't just look at, we just look after this and not the extra square meters. But the energies that are there, the patriarchal, matriarchal, and I do believe in the union rather than one at the top. Or it's now about
why can't they rule together?
Finding the relation to the masculine, feminine, or matriarch, patriarch, mother, father, and the energy is there. So no one's telling us, but now more people like you, me, are finding, actually, hang on a minute, I'm just going to find this balance in my home, because it's it's just the energy is there to support that more. So it falls into your field. I'm just going to do this if there's any more time or space that I can hold, but this is my square meter to really make a difference. And more people are going to feel this. You've seen that even just in the fact with COVID and people being locked up or whatever, people started to grow more food. I'm just going to upgrade my house a bit and be more home with the kids. And I don't really want to go full-time back to the office. I'd rather work at home. There's all these things that are changing because of what we're being presented with in the most important place is our family.
Yeah.
When we make a difference there, we're not only setting a different template for your daughter to tap into, whatever story she came in with. If you present her with an option that's better than what we feel we're presented with, then that's going to potentially help her and create a difference in the future for children to express themselves differently.
Yeah.
When that role is also you're trying to hold the harmony or the calm, and when when you both know you're having a role and not competing over the women that wanted to do the things that the men were doing for a while, nothing wrong with it, it's just evolution. That's not where it was at, I believe. It's about the harmony between the masculine, the feminine, the patriarch and the matriarch, to know what your qualities are and what you can work on and with, and the other as well, and allowing the other person to fully step up in that space. That is definitely what you're here to express, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I see my partner as quite queenly in her energy to be able to raise our child really well and manage the home really well. I see her as a queen.
Yeah, that's amazing.
She's a matriarch of our family, and that's how I choose to see her. Yeah. And so then I feel like I need to step into the patriarch.
Yeah.
And, I've made a couple of mistakes. One is in the beginning, I took my focus off my purpose and my mission, which I think is where I should keep my focus. And I put my focus on providing more support. Yeah. So I was giving up 3 hours in the morning so that my partner could sleep in and I'd take the child because she'd been up through the night, thinking I was doing the right thing. Yeah. But that also happens to be my most productive time in terms of creativity and business work. And that wasn't working, but I thought I was doing the right thing. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's a male friend of mine who's a counsellor, and quite a clever guy, and he said to me, because I was getting quite agitated because it was taking too much time away from my mission, and he said, your daughter doesn't need two mothers. She needs a mother and a father. and so you need to work this out. I'm like, yeah, I need to work out what my priorities are as the patriarch. I need to make sure that my business is working, and I can't sacrifice that to be there so my partner can sleep in, even though I thought it was the right thing to do. So that was one mistake that I made, and when I corrected that, things improved. And it was a tough conversation to have with my partner. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not giving you those 3 hours. She's like, what? I'm like, they're my most productive hours. I need to be working. And I get up now, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning so that I can do a lot of work before they even wake up.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Another mistake I made, this is in terms of masculine, feminine, patriarch, matriarch, I made my partner and my child number one, and I made myself number two. Now, you might think that's a great thing to do. Yeah, you should put others before yourself. And I've only just realised, I've just flipped the script on that. I'm like, no, I'm the most important. And I'm not saying that from ego at all. I'm just saying that for the first 9 months, I was putting them first. So much so that I was putting myself not even second or third, that I was over-giving. And I just was losing myself in that. And my health started to suffer, and I was always stressed. And I'm like, oh, I thought this was a good idea, but in practice it's not working. And what we ended up with is, like both me and my partner quite cranky at each other. I'm like, something's got to change. And so I made this commitment just recently that I need to put myself first. I mean, I can put them equally first, but I at least need to be taking care of myself, because I recognise that what our family needs is a healthy and happy father. If they don't have that, then they've got a sick, unhappy father, and that's where it was going. And I saw it. I'm like, oh, I'm not putting myself first. It might sound selfish to some people, or self-absorbed, or wrong thinking, but I'm not interested in what's right and wrong. And I say this repeatedly, I'm interested in what works and what doesn't. And I think what's going to work for our family is if I put myself first and look after myself and take good care of myself and make sure I'm okay. And then if I am, then what I have to give, I can give more of, and I can be happy when I'm doing that.
Yep. It's interesting because, well, firstly, from being a flight attendant, any parent would be inclined, if the oxygen mask dropped down, to stick it on the child. However, we say every time, first you put it on yourself. If you are not okay, your child, and also in this situation, patriarch, matriarch, your matriarch is relying on you being the patriarch. So if you as a patriarch are not fully in that space because you're diluting yourself, not diluting, but extending yourself in other jobs that are really not to do with, firstly, looking after you as a strong patriarch, that is when it's not going to work.
Right.
So it's so important. I know it's labeled as, you're egocentric or whatever for a reason, so that we don't firstly realize, where are my boundaries? What is my capacity? How do I self-regulate? What is for me? What is not for me? Be discerning in your connection, but also the outer world, outside of your family. What can I take on? So that you are solid. And if you are not solid, know how to come back to yourself. I know I said I was going to hold space for that, but at this moment, I just need 5, 10, half an hour to come back to myself so I can step forward in that. Because otherwise there's this balance. And as you said, it's going to affect everything. And it's amazing how you say you see her as quite queenly in the raising and how she approaches that. I think that's a key thing, that men can see that in their women. And so that is actually all the women in need, to feel that, yes, we have a quality that is so amazing. We birth a new life. We innately somehow know how to nourish and nurture and be with this child. And to be seen in that light is amazing, I think.
Yeah. I think my partner's definitely getting that from having become a mum, and I think it's creating a lot of purpose and self-belief and self-confidence. She's a wonderful, dedicated. She thought she had no idea how to be a mum because she has a pretty dim view of her mum, how she was raised by her mum. And so she thought that, well, I didn't learn how to be a good mum, but I think it's instinctual, at least in her it is. And
remembering, no? This is exactly the remembering I speak of when you start to be in place in a position or connect with elements or earth. There's a remembering She remembers this from deep inside of her. No one's taught her, not in a healthy way maybe. And still she knows, because instinctually we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if she can focus on that because you're doing the other role, somebody's going to flourish, as you will flourish in your patriarch if the woman is not continuously, but I need this from you. That's not your role. No, I need that for you. So it works both ways. That's why the disharmony has been there for a while. And it's really good to hear that there's a lot of beautiful men that you know that are quite balanced and all that. I'm just more thinking, I guess, in through my lens and what I see more in my surroundings in Holland, but not necessarily Holland, just my setting where I grew up was not as harmonized as it could be.
In between the masculine and the feminine. Yeah. Oh, look, there's definitely discord between the masculine and feminine. Oh, it's everywhere. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
It's actually a reflection of the inner disbalance, obviously.
Yeah, and we all have both. You know, every woman's got a masculine side and every man's got a feminine side, and it's about. I think it is about finding that balance, and at times that's going to get out of balance.
Yeah,
and I think what always piques my interest is when it goes negative, in terms of men are the problem, or women are the problem, or these blanket narratives.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before on this show, particularly in regards to domestic violence, because that's always portrayed as a man problem. The man's always the problem, and that's not the case. The man does more damage, but the women contribute in ways that aren't obvious. But if you dig a little deeper and the women are honest, it comes to the surface that, it's about a 50-50 split there. But
it's interesting you bring it up, because I have a similar view, which is often kind of frowned upon, because as if I'm letting the sisters down. let's say.
Which you're not at all.
Because I have gone through this process myself where I was stalked by someone, an ex-partner, and until I came to myself, realizing what this was really reflecting within me, and I shifted in it, stalking stopped. To such a point that after 2 weeks, this person connected with me saying, "Are you okay?" Thought maybe that I actually literally fell off the planet or something. And I was like, okay, I couldn't really say it strongly to people that are in abuse, because they would think, how do you know? But I know. It was ultimately, you're in a dynamic to reflect to each other a deep wound that needs to be looked at. So in an abusive connection, both parties have a wound.
Yep.
And they're reflecting that. They found the perfect partner to reflect that. And and I realized I can't say that to somebody that's been raped or murdered or whatever.
Sure.
But ultimately, I know, because I was exposed to it, that when you come to that point within yourself that you really realize this is a reflection of me, I'm playing out something that I can let go of or heal.
Yes.
Or recondition or reprogram. Right. And then it stopped. It was overnight, and I was like, oh,
so you identified what it was in you that was attracting that behaviour from your ex-partner, and when you changed that, shifted that energy in you, he stopped stalking you. Wow.
And to a point that he was actually connecting after 2 weeks, "Are you okay?"
Oh.
Really? So it was, I think he never saw me anywhere anymore, but because we were just completely, I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need that wound to be reflected back to me. So then the purpose was done, and it's so magic.
It's so nuanced, isn't it, too? Yeah. You have to have a very good radar to be able to read some of these. My partner and I were going through some conflict at the moment in our relationship. I won't go into it for privacy reasons, but conflict, being new parents with a young baby at home. And we both come from traumatic childhoods, and I anticipated this. I'm like, I wonder what wounds are going to come up once there's a baby in the house, and it's coming up strong. And it's in both of us. I like to think it's more in, she's got more to do with than I do, but of course I'm going to say that. But I'm also reacting, so I'm definitely reacting. I definitely get triggered. I take it personally. I'm like, I thought I was better than this,
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm like, I get triggered and I feel disrespected, and all this stuff comes up in me. And that's what I was saying before. I'd like to be able to be more this, So, I haven't yet quite tracked down the wound. I think if I paid some attention to it, I could track it down. But it's around not being respected. And by respect, I don't mean I grew up believing that you just. I was told respect your elders.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm looking at my elders, and they're like a bunch of people that don't deserve any respect at all.
Yeah.
So I never fully understood what respect meant.
No.
Because it was taught to me in the wrong context.
Yeah.
But respect actually means to see someone as they are.
Yeah.
And then if they change, to see the change in them.
Yeah.
And to treat them accordingly, to see them as they are and to treat them accordingly.
Yeah.
That's what I think respect really does mean. And so how I respond in the conflict we're currently having is that I don't feel respected. Mm-hmm. So like I don't feel like I'm being seen for how I'm contributing, like how I'm showing up as a man. But just the fact that I need that respect or that I'm in reaction tells me there's still something there that, is needs to be uncovered, some shadow there of why do I need the respect so much? Maybe it's because it was demanded of me that I'm demanding
that you want to get back. Yeah, because what's interesting what you just said. So somebody has an insight of how you changed and then behave accordingly.
Yeah.
But that is an expectation that actually sets you up in a trap. Because that other person doesn't have to do anything with that new information. We are trained to now go, look, I've grown.
Right.
And there's this expectation that other people are going to go and notice it or go, oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But that's expectation and that's a trap, really.
I think it's the wanting or needing to be seen or respected is its own trap.
Yeah.
Because if I need that and I need that from that person, I'm creating my own, like you say, trap. Because if I don't get it, then I'm screwed.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not required to give it, like you say.
Yeah.
They can if they choose, but for me to demand it creates that imbalance in me.
Yeah, and what I noticed myself, it's just a simple thing, but as I'm connecting so deeply with Mother Earth I started to pick up rubbish. Not that I never did, but I picked up rubbish and I could see myself going, which person has left his rubbish conversation in myself. Or, if somebody said, oh, thanks for picking up the rubbish, I felt good because I was seen in it. And I realized, what is this?
Right.
Why am I still wanting to be seen for my good deed? And it's in that same realm. And I realized, because I know when you stand in nature what I do, or you see a fishbowl and then more and more and more, you engage and everything gets witnessed and you're a witness and you're witnessing nature. It's in that. It's not necessarily in other people. But we're taught that person might not actually, they have their head full. So she's not noticing that, you've just had a massive turnaround and you've learned and grown. And she's not acknowledging it for her own reasons.
Yeah.
But you are still witnessed. Because Mother Earth, I know this, Mother Earth, eventually I start to realize, I start to smile. I pick up this with no mind. I pick this up and I go, and I'm doing this because I receive so much from Mother Earth and creation and my body and health. I'm showing up to do my thing with my hands, which is picking this up and that with no mind. So we are witnessing the story all the time, but we're waiting for the other person to witness that, where we actually zoom out and the entirety of creation has witnessed your process, your aha moment, your growth, and you're waiting for the one person who's maybe too busy to
she's definitely too
notice
busy.
because she's just holding on or in her reaction.
That's a good point. She doesn't have the
if
space.
you just go outside and stand for a moment, just like, I am so, feel so good about myself that I've grown, you are witnessed.
Yeah, that's
all
a good...
the time.
And that's slowly beginning to happen because in the mornings now I'm making sure that I do go outside and that I do face the sun in the early morning. And I have to go feed the chickens and collect the eggs anyway. So being on the land, maybe I need to do it more barefoot rather than wear my things and just ground in and be witnessed by the mother. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a feeling that you don't.
Yeah, so I can create that own energy within me rather than look for it to be externally validated.
Yeah.
It can be validated. I respect myself, but for some reason I'm still looking for external validation. But if the mother can witness you, which it does, she can witness me. All right.
She's witnessing everyone.
Love that.
It's the same with the sun. People go, the sun, I haven't seen the sun. I'm like, are you kidding? The sun is there. It's daytime. I'm connecting with the sun. I still see,
It's like the father and the mother, isn't it? I see the sun as the father and the earth as the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, It's a wonderful conversation. I've been thrilled. I didn't really know what we were going to talk about. I don't think I looked at my questions once. It just flowed, and they're my favourite kind of conversations. And yeah, it definitely has influenced some of my thinking. I think there's been a transmission.
Yeah, same. I feel the same.
Of energy.
Yeah.
And very, very pleased with how that went. And so Renate de Koker, affectionately known as Coco, I know you're wanting to impact the world, and you're doing that in your own way, and I don't need to promote you or whatever, but that's who you are, and I think you're going to be already doing wonderful things, and I'm curious about how you're going to express yourself further in the world and how your voice will be heard. But like you said, you don't have to do it on a big stage or in a big way, because if you're impacting people who come to you through invitation, like you said, they go out and those ripple effects, and that does happen for sure. So, you're not looking for people to look for you necessarily. Sometimes I have guests on that are doing things, and I say, well, if they wanted to find you, how would they find you?
Well, I do have my offering. It's called Walk Your Wisdom. I'm mostly active on Instagram, so if anyone wants to connect with that,
Walk Your Wisdom.
And I do private sessions with people.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So you do see people.
Often with the elements and fire. That's when I've had some feedback from people down the track, how it's actually recalibrated them. Sitting with fire and having a fire.
I might come and have a session with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fire sign.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Leo, so I'm fire, and my daughter's fire. And we've got a little fire pit out there, and I don't light it as much as I should. I think I should have. Winter's coming up.
Yeah.
So I think I might need to have a little ritual fire most days and connect with the fire more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, as with all the elements, it's interesting what we use fire for. You know, some people use it for cooking and for partying, but also there's this element of witnessing and receiving and giving. So what I started to remember with one of the indigenous young men, he was leaving the area for 3 months, and I said, "Oh, can I hold a fire for you and before you go? Because there's something about, you leave and then you come back. And then we come back into our family or normal life, but we potentially have run for our lives in the past, hunting, and bring that trauma into the tribe. So in the old ways, it was like you come back to that fire. You're held by the fire, you go hunting or war. You come back to the fire, you're being seen by the fire. All your stresses, everything is given back to Mother Earth through the fire. And then you go back to your tribe. So you don't hold the trauma in your body. And then through intimacy, often, children are born in trauma because we don't, in our day-to-day life, take
we're not discharging. We're not discharging that trauma.
And that's part of the patriarch matriarch as well.
So the fire is used by that.
Well, that's one of the elements. Yeah, and I started to do it, and again, I started to realize, oh my God, this is what I was doing in other lives. I could see my hands. And I've done it a couple of times for younger men, and the feedback I've had from that, where we're just not used to it, that we're held in honor of our next journey, whatever that is. That is a really powerful thing. And you can see it sometimes when people are drunk, they go back to a 5-year-old, that's their last trauma was there. And they've just built on that trauma rather than transitioning through ceremony or ritual, often through fire, into another phase of their lives. So order.
Amazing. I just, the more I listen to you, the more I see like the mystic in you, even like the medicine woman in a way. Yeah. And yet you tell me most of your life you've been a flight attendant and hospitality. I'm like trying to marry those two personas, and yet, I mean, it doesn't matter if your soul or your expression of yourself has those elements to it. It doesn't matter where you show up in.
Well, I guess I was learning so much about myself and others, working in and amongst others all the time, and then balancing the barista and the chef and the customer, and just this navigation of.
I think when you're around people all the time, because I've been a nurse, when you're around people all the time, and you would be as a flight attendant and hospitality, that's the craft of learning to read people or read yourself in response to people. See the patterns, feel into yourself, and know,
why you're getting triggered and why is it not flowing. That's been my education, really. And I got paid for it. I was paid for hospitality jobs to really tune in. Okay.
You'd understand people as a flight attendant because you have to, a bit like hairdressers and like natural psychologists because they're always having conversations with the customers.
Yeah.
But I imagine as a flight, you have to know who's a bit off, or who do I need to keep an eye on, or
Totally.
who's safe or who's not
Some
safe.
people are really in fear of flying, all that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
The kids who hugely stressed. Yeah, there's a whole...
You got to manage that space really well.
Yeah.
You have to work as a team.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to being a flight attendant, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was not just flight attendant. I've been working in hospitality, front of house for a long time in the area as well. Yeah, I've seen it as my training ground. But, it was all part of reading the energy, and now and I was highly laughed upon by not laughed upon, but it didn't fit into the structure in Holland, what I was doing. And coming to Byron felt like, okay, I can now take my shoes off.
I can be anonymous.
And explore this, what I do know. And that hugely shamanic or ancient medicine woman is obviously coming through.
So as a remembering.
Now that there is space. But I needed the activation in my body also just to actually, come on, it's time to come back to Mother Earth. So it's all intertwined, it's all interlinked, and that's how I look at my life and my journey. The remembering back. Not ever getting too stuck in, I don't like this, what is the gift? Because as soon as I find the gift, I can navigate it much easier.
You can navigate
it much easier, or potentially it doesn't have to surface again if I find that gift. So I'm forever always kind of looking in the muddy water where a lot of people around me for a long time didn't want to look. Like, why would you want to open this up? But if I don't find out what it is that it can give me, then I won't grow out of and through and be more free in myself and not captivated by.
I'm definitely going to come and see you for a session because I do feel a stuck energy in me, and it's playing out in physical symptoms. And I've been to several people and have taken different approaches to it, but there's something in that I'm hearing and gleaning from what you're speaking that I think resonates with me. I can't put my finger on it, but I do want to come and speak with you and move through some stuck energy, and I think it's got to do with the elements. And
it's also holding the space, because as you know, you can know everything, but if the other person's not really there to... So it's about holding that space, and an elemental space is something that you do see, but not enough of yet, I think. But that's what we were doing in ancient times. We were always working with the elements. And so that's what I'm here to bring back, I guess, or have remembered myself back to, and I'm emanating that.
It's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for coming. Is
it
your first podcast? I don't think it'll be your last.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure being here. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.